Hello and welcome to Midweek Gaming. Tonight's Wednesday and we're back again. So if you want to check out a great gaming website, check out www.bg4ghub.com for your latest independent news, reviews, opinion pieces and more. If you'd like a cool custom graphic or logo by the graphic god, please go to www.xboxgamerpics.com. How are we? Wow, how are we all? Animated's gone on camera.
I just spilled my beer. We're off to a bad start.
How are you all doing?
Living the dream.
Yeah.
Apart from yesterday.
Whose dream is this? Because whoever it is, they're on hard drugs as far as I'm concerned.
So, how are you, Animated Evil? You've been playing much?
I think he's gone.
How are you doing, Cerebral?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. And I have been playing much. I did Donut County overnight last night. Really quick.
Hey.
I've heard about that.
Very cool game, actually.
Very easy.
Easy 1000G and good. Hey, it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's a very unique game. I liked it. Let's see. Lots of golf.
Okay.
And I did some... I did some Star Wars Battlefront the other night. Never going to do that again. That game was awful. Wow. And of course, my usual Forza, a little bit of the Call of Duty, and of course, golf with your friends and things like that. Yeah.
I don't know if the chat can see the scorecard in the corner.
I saw it.
That's good to hear, though. Anyway, you've been playing some golf, and I've never really played golf games. I don't even like golf with friends. I don't.
What?
No.
Wow.
Don't like it.
I see him. Get him out. Dump him.
I know.
Where's the mute button?
We'll be switching to my YouTube
I
channel.
can mute yours, actually. So, how are you doing, VJ? You've been up to much? You've been gaming a lot? Are you there? Yep.
All sorts. A little bit like Bertie Bassett.
Oh, nice.
Hi, Lupa.
Have you found any gems you've been playing?
No, not really. Just probably the games that everyone's probably already played before. Just jumped onto, oh my goodness, Monster Hunter and Removable Sanity was kind enough to spend 2-3 hours with me just getting me to grips with all the systems within the game. And it's a real gem. It's a fantastic game, and you can understand why it sold almost 16 million copies. I'm nearly put off offered by it by Mr. Tushi, but fortunately,
what have I done?
I succumbed to Capcom, the visual style, and some of the reviews, and Removable Sanity. But normally, Mr. Tushi, 99% of the time, he gives fantastic. How can I put it?
Recommendations, yeah,
to games. So, and it was no different actually. Removable Sanity taking me through Monster Hunter because it needed it. The same way Mr. Tushi took me through Sea of Thieves, which shockingly I haven't played in about 10 days. But,
I've not played it in about. I can't remember the last time I played that game.
Yeah.
Was the last time when you fell asleep in the cave?
It was.
Yeah. Do you want to know an interesting story about that cave?
Yeah.
Right. I went on with
Xbox
Pope, right, to do Pope's Easter egg. And what you have to you go to the cave and you have to take a photo with Pope next to his Easter egg. But anyway, in that cave is the one where we were singing the shanties, for the to get the light to light up, and that's the cave where you fell asleep. So, where you fell asleep in Stubbs cave in Xbox Pope's cave.
Stubbs cave, is it now?
Was Stubbs still there? Was he the Easter egg?
Sleeping in the corner.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
That's good to hear.
Me and I were laughing at it, and this is where Stubbs fell asleep.
Yeah.
You just standing in the cave.
Yep.
Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, you been playing much else then, VJ? You've been
No, that's all at the moment. There's a number of games, but yeah, some of them are on PlayStation, unfortunately. So I wouldn't want to mar your show with talk of the
You can talk about PlayStation. I'd like you to talk about the games any games you play.
I've got a friend who loves Everybody's Golf. He doesn't really have many other people that own the game, but sort of sometimes you can play some very intense games like Monster Hunter, but yeah, I really enjoy Everybody's Golf, playing that occasionally. So I've been playing a bit of that, and but yeah, Monster Hunter's my main go-to right now. So
it must be really good though if you're playing it a lot.
Yeah, I the depth to it, just the visual style, the graphics. I just, I mean, I don't know if it won any awards in the year of its release, but I'd be surprised if it didn't. But it probably, I haven't really looked into it, and then more so,
I think it broke a few records
in terms of sales, or
I think so. Yeah, I think it did. I think it broke some records. I could be 100% wrong here, but I'm pretty sure it did, because it was the very first Monster Hunter to.
Yeah.
Well, it broke into. I think it broke into the different. Well, it broke into different people playing it effectively. I think am I correct in saying it's the very first console game for Xbox or PlayStation? No, maybe wrong, maybe not. But I know it definitely opened up its eyes to a lot more new players. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, multiplayer is no doubt the way to go. Very similar to Sea of Thieves, but the joy and the distinct visual style again for Sea of Thieves is pretty much the two key factors. Two of the key factors that got me into Monster Hunter, and I'm so glad Removable Sanity, as I said, was on hand to in the middle of the night in the UK to come on and take me through it for 2 to 3 hours, because it made the world of difference. And I mean, I had a ton of questions. I probably knackered them out by the end of the session, but yeah, it's an incredible game, and I think it's going to be hard to get me off of it. I was looking forward to the medium. But I saw that the Yakuza series is pretty much done and dusted, other than Like a Dragon, and I think Part 6 is in Game Pass, and so yeah, that'll probably, if I do delve into anything else, it'll be Yakuza Kiwami. But yeah,
good to hear.
I have to say that I tried Monster Hunter solo. I didn't have anybody to play with. I uninstalled it. I may have to reinstall it and try running with you guys, because I couldn't.
It is, yeah. With solo, the difficulty, I think, is just a little bit too high.
Yeah.
Especially for brand new players, and I mean, I completed the game, but I can tell you now, I never did it solo.
Yeah.
There are people out there who know the game, and once you've got to grips with it, then they become masters of it, and they can solo. But your general gamer, I think it's so much better to either play with randoms or play with friends, and that's where it really the appeal comes into its own.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, Removable, I'm playing it solo, and I'm still enjoying it. I'm still discovering, and it's still fascinating. It's still incredible, and it's still surprising every time I play it, just because of just the artistic design, the visual design of each and every monster. It's not what you expect, and the animation sex and the interaction of how the environment interacts with everything that you're doing just changes the dynamic of every single encounter. Yeah, and I'm only just starting, compared to your 200 hours. I'm 1,000 hours in.
I think having them with you at the beginning probably helped you, though, give you a little bit of a leg up, because going in fresh with no knowledge of it, I got very confused very quickly and very annoyed very quickly.
I probably would say the biggest thing they failed upon was the tutorials.
Yeah.
They really were not up to scratch. For the new players, for those who've played Monster Hunter on the different platforms that it has been released upon, it's very easy just to get back into. But for brand new players, it's effectively, for those who don't know, it is a text-based screen. It's almost like a screenshot with some text on it, which doesn't give you any indication whatsoever. No. And it's kind of a nightmare for anyone trying to work out of what this gem does, or what does that do, or how can I use that weapon combination against that. And it is effectively a work it out yourself sort of situation, which is potentially good for some games, but for a game that has a difficulty, I would say difficulty like that, it is so much easier to have someone to go, if you do this, that's really good at that. Or, if you look at,
Sorry,
show
just
it to me.
one
Show it to me. Don't just tell me. Show it to me.
Just one other
Yes,
thing,
exactly.
Paul. Just one other thing, Paul. I did watch a few sort of tutorials on it, and there were old tutorials, and people were saying, sorry, during the description period that, the loading times were like 30 seconds on the Xbox One and so forth. But I am relieved to tell you that on the Series X, the load times are phenomenal. So you won't have that frustration in terms of, all of the negatives, still sort of fall by the wayside when you look at the phenomenal number of sales that the product's done. So,
Oh yeah, it doesn't stop you from enjoying it. No.
Why are we looking at Tushy stroke his beard? It's just weird. It's just
he's
odd.
just trying to find some chips.
I found something in here. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's that?
It's a ferret.
McDonald's. Actually, this show should be co-sponsored by McDonald's.
Or Capcom.
I get a strike. It'd be your fault, Mr. Tushi. McDonald's strike the video down.
Sponsored independently by McDonald's. His favourite meal: breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So basically, you're a big fan of Monster Hunter now, DJ, which is good.
Yep.
So
And
part of
Game
Gamepass, you get to discover games you want to try.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's been dozens of indie games, and there are too many to list. Mr. Tushi knows some of them, and Removable Sanity knows some of them that I've tried and played and fully completed. And they were a joy.
Good to hear. I will take a quick pause to give shout out to the 17 people that have tuned in live. Welcome to Elk Dude, which is God's Geeks. He's changed his branding. He's now Elk Dude. Welcome Assassin Looper. Welcome Pong Soul. It's good to see you. Welcome Telegonic. Good to see you.
Now I'm gonna have to remember that Elk Dude is Game Geek. It's gonna throw me off for like a year.
Welcome Centurion. How you doing, mate? How you doing? Welcome Dragon Wolf. Who else we got? Because there's quite a few.
Judzilla.
Judzilla, welcome. Thanks for stopping by, mate.
Better Man 77.
Better Man 77, welcome. Misuku. Oh, well, let's go back up the list.
Assassin Looper. She's going to kill you if you don't mention it.
I have mentioned it already, but Assassin Looper, welcome.
Feature, cover your bases.
Yeah.
And Infinite, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. And also, welcome Z Black Rider. Welcome Avish. Thanks for stopping by. Which one is the one that was giving you out the right angle advice, Mr. Tushi?
I wasn't watching the chat. When,
Right angle. Give the right angle to the right angle. You'll get him with the right angle.
Do a throw.
I'm useless at watching the chat while I'm playing games and stuff.
Fair enough. Right, welcome, Mr. Tushi.
Hello.
Have you been playing much recently?
Played some Gears last night with some fucking idiot who kicked my ass.
Where's Animated Evil gone? He's dropped out for a minute. I'm sure he'll be back. Yeah. Who did you play against on Gears?
Some random, not very good, I heard.
Yeah.
Fuck off. You need to zoom in on that score and put it as your banner or something.
Oh, don't. He will. That'll be it now. That's his banner for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I'm just making sure the stream can see it. Yeah, they can see it, definitely.
I'm sure
because I see the counter, you see, in the left-hand corner.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a montage coming. Don't worry. Oh, it was Telegonic that was trying to give you the the right hand. Kill him with the right hand. Yep. It didn't work. Did it work or did? Because there was some quite funny moments. There were some quite funny moments because there was points where he thought he had me, and he's hiding around the corner, and I just walked around the corner and beat without a chance. You know. And there was points where you scared the life out of me in some of them points. You know? I don't know how I took you down, and you know when you in the middle bit where the stairs are, where them blocks are, and you can hide behind them. There was one point where you actually scared me. I don't know how I still killed you. I did.
I seen
I
you.
was
I
like-
seen you at the top, and I was hiding behind those blue blocks. And I wait for him to come down, and I'll just come out of it. You got me twice there, didn't you?
But if anyone was to watch the start of the game, you would have believed that Mr. Tushi was going to win. Because I was struggling at the start, then I thought, right, Stubbs, calm down, slow your pace down, think about what
Have
you're
a
going to do.
cuppa.
And that is when the focus came in. And eventually it got to a point where the gap was too far that you'd have to kill me every single time. But then when I said that, and then you got me another 2 times or something. Then it was over. It was fun, though. It was fun.
Just wait for you to get Call of Duty next.
Score was 50. Well, technically, if we went to 50, it was 50-29, technically.
It was close.
Yeah, Better Man thought I was going to get destroyed as well. Yeah, because if you looked at the start of the match, you would have thought that I was going to lose.
Yeah.
Which I was really concerned that I was going to lose. Welcome, Graphic God. How you doing, mate? How you doing? Welcome, Animated Evil. How you been doing?
Hello. I do apologise for that. I was having some serious connection issues. I've resolved the issue. I was talking and you couldn't hear me, and then it went off and all sorts of things. I do apologise.
Yeah, you're fine. Have you been playing much or gaming much or spectating and recording some gameplay or stuff?
I did record some really interesting gameplay of you and Tushi on Gears the other day. That was quite good. So I'll try and get that video to you as soon as I can.
Yeah, because
one of them is corrupted, so I've got about 50 minutes, something like that.
Oh, cheers! It helped for the montage.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's the last bit that's corrupted.
No, it's the first bit. So when you were doing really well, Tushi.
Oh God!
Even better.
Saying that, I might have to use a bit off Twitch. I might, but the quality will be better off yours. It will, than Twitch.
But playing games wise, I've just been playing multiplayer pretty much all since last weekend. I'm not going to name names who keeps pulling me in, but every time I start up a single player game, do you fancy playing this? I'm like, oh, go on then.
Yeah.
It's just been constant multiplayer.
Yeah, but
you know how annoying last night.
Did
you know when you're trying to concentrate playing Gears, and all you can hear is it's fucking annoying. So I kept leaving. I was like, I can't deal with that. He's putting me off.
Because I could see you, and you're like looking around the map and stuff.
I know why you could see me, because you were watching my stream.
I weren't watching.
Reminds me of Family Guy's Peter, isn't it? It's just like you can imagine Family Guy's Peter going, as Stubbs runs past. What the hell?
I can't imagine I helped any subs with me being in the party as well. So
you couldn't hear the whole party though. People in the stream couldn't hear the whole party.
No, I didn't.
There was more people in than that.
Could they only hear me then in the party?
They can only hear you.
Yeah.
Talk to myself the whole time.
Yeah, we heard you giggling the whole time. It was
my fault.
Sorry about that. I was just having fun.
I think VJ should take on Stubbs in a 1v1, 150 kills next.
Mm.
You there, VJ? You up for it?
Yeah, sorry, do what?
1v1, first to 50 kills, Gears 5.
I'd love to play Gears 5 with you, but I'm not very good at it. But I do enjoy the horde mode extravaganza that Mr. Tushi often holds. I find that absolutely brilliant. I will warn you that more often than not, I'm often on the floor and need to be revived. So if you're up for that, yeah.
I won't be next time in
That's
horde.
true.
We'll have to arrange it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate any invite. Thank you.
Yeah, because we keep meaning to do it, but it never seems to happen. It doesn't. So we'll have to arrange it. We will.
Perfect. Thank you.
We will. So, I'm not visiting the topic that's been blasted to death. So, what do you guys think? It's only a quick. We don't have to go in detail. What do you guys think? I'm only mentioning it because it got announced today. What do you think of the 18 million Xbox Game Pass subscribers?
Do you want me to go first?
Anyone? That's a quick topic.
It's a good number. I predicted 25 million, but I was way out, wasn't I? It's good though. They're still gaining pretty much 1 million a month, aren't they? So I think they're doing quite well.
Yeah, I've read somewhere that they paid twice over for their Bethesda acquisition.
Yeah. I've seen a few memes going around about that stuff, and they're quite funny. No, they're doing well.
It's good to
Still
hear.
haven't read that now.
Because obviously at some point, it's going to come to a point where all these free subs, like people like me, well, saying that, I'm going to make sure I don't run out via the Microsoft rewards. But other people will just keep paying. There will come a point where people that don't do that will start paying, It's a good thing for Game Pass, It is. But there was one, I'm not bringing up the gold, but there is an element. Everyone's getting Gears 5 for free. They are.
Yes, February games are gold.
However, though, it's a bit of stipulation around that. I don't know whether Cerebral Paul knows, being an ambassador. Is it Gear? Now, this is my prediction. I think it's Gears 5 Standard Edition. It doesn't come with the Hivebusters DLC. I can't see them giving away Gears 5 Game of the Year Edition with Hivebusters DLC when it only came out over a month ago. I can't see that.
Yeah,
I think it
will be the Standard Edition.
And hopefully, Pete, it will be with the kick will be if you like this Gears 5, you either buy the Hivebusters DLC or you become a Game Pass sub.
Right. Usually they don't include the DLCs when they do stuff like that.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, it's only better mentioning about gold. I'm not getting into all that because every podcast in the planet's done it.
Yeah.
But that's a good game if you don't have Game Pass and you've got gold. Great game, Bit biased, though, but yeah.
Hello, Husk. Welcome.
Welcome, ACS Husk. How you doing? But yeah, so any more thoughts on the Game Pass animated on the numbers?
The numbers, yeah. I mean, even the people that don't subscribe haven't paid. All those people that got it for $1 or whatever, they still include in the numbers.
They are,
like Tushi said. Like Tushi said, they're getting. I thought about 20, 25, something like that, but closer to 20. But when you think about just before Christmas, they said we're at 15. That's almost it's gone up 3 million since the last announcement. It's huge, a huge amount. If they can keep on garnering the traction they're getting, they'll hit 30 million halfway through this year. Well, end of the year.
Right.
It depends if it slows down any.
I think it really depends because there's been quite a few initiatives to bolster the numbers. I think if you ask Microsoft, I think they'll say it's still in its infancy. It's nowhere near where we want it. But I remember, and Paul, because you're over in the US, you might recall this, is that they had an initiative over here very close to the launch of the hardware system where you pay $1, or I don't know if it's only Europe or not. You pay $1 and you get 3 months.
Oh no, we had that. We that's how they.
Yeah, I was just asking them, Paul, I was asking them because these guys are based in Europe, and I'm not sure if that was if that program was rolled out over there. But
what program? Sorry.
Whereby you can get Game Pass for $1 for 3 months, and also there was huge offers around Cyber Monday and Black Friday, where and this is where I picked up most of my subscription is pay $20 and receive 3 months. So I stocked up on those, so I'm good until September. But yeah, I think it's a case of it's very easy for Microsoft to offer these initiatives and get people into the program, into the streaming service. But given the pandemic, I think all streaming services, whether it's for movies, TV shows, or whether it's Sony, Nintendo, or Microsoft, anybody offering a streaming service for people that are trapped at home, they are predominantly doing very, very well at the moment, at the cost of other industries that aren't doing as well. But yeah, I think it's great for now, but it's how consistent and what are the initiatives to retain people.
Right.
And I think Stubbs, you've mentioned some of those with the games that they're offering with gold. I think, and also to do with the games that they're on offer this month. If you're a fan of Yakuza, the Yakuza series, and obviously the Medium, but it's the ongoing initiatives that will determine the longevity and how solid these numbers are and how sustainable they are. And I think that's the key objective for those guys over at Xbox for the long term.
And I will say that, even if like Forza Horizon is on Xbox Game Pass, but the DLCs are not. And I know a lot of people, including myself, pay money to get those DLCs, even though the game is only on Game Pass. Like the Lego DLC, which was $15. So it's not like they're not getting any money out of us who've already paid in or who have, subscriptions for the next 3 years. It's just, it just changes how much we pay and when.
Yeah, think about it. As also, you've just paid for the DLC, so when that game does inevitably leave Game Pass, you'll be like, "Well, I still want to play it, so therefore I'm going to buy it."
Correct.
So
Yeah,
it's a gateway. It's a gateway, isn't it?
Here's an example. I was playing that fishing simulator on the World Fishing Sim on the Game Pass. I was playing that quite often. I bought like all the DLC for it, but then now the game's gone. I've got the DLC, but I don't own the game no more, so I've got to buy it.
Some games have hit
exactly.
Game Pass, and they've announced that they made a lot of money because people get interested in the game and they buy it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You've paid for the DLC. That's already money in their pocket, and then, as you said, once it moves from Game Pass, that's another chunk of money in their pocket. Yep. It's effectively the purchase price for the game. But it may have reduced, as it might reduce throughout the years. But they're getting money from the sale of that game over a much longer period, and that's what Game Pass does. It now increases that Game Pass that expenditure period for a much more longer. Where normally it'd be like, you'll get your bulk within the first month, and then it slowly reduces in the next 2 or 3 months till it kind of pitters out to the odd 1 or 2 people. Now you're still going to get that buying power over a much longer period. So they're not going to be worried about saying, "Oh, it's the very first month. We got a whole load." You'll still get that surge, but that now chunk of money is now going to be probably drip fed over a much longer period, which obviously helps with costs for them, helps costs with development, but also it means it'll probably even be more so. The total will be more due to that situation.
So not removable. Still flashing.
Yeah.
I just tried turning it on. There's no chance.
Well, it's a bit annoying, that is.
Yep.
So I swear to God, when they updated, my son plays Minecraft on the Series X, and I swear they updated that Minecraft app, the beta app, and quite regularly when we turn Minecraft on, the console switches off. It's ever since they updated it, because now Minecraft is now in what they call beta. So if it's buggy and broken, you're fine.
Hasn't Minecraft always been in beta?
No,
not in beta.
No, it's now in beta. Don't ask me what they're doing. I don't know, but it says beta now.
I think they're adding, they're updating some of the assets.
But also, if you keep it in beta, people accept it more if it's buggy. It's like Minecraft. It's like in Fortnite. If there's an issue, they fix it straight away. But a lot of companies use beta because I believe that the patching systems they use are more faster and cheaper to do if a game's in beta. I could be wrong,
And like you said, it takes a lot of the pressure off because it's beta. If it's broken, it's beta. That's going to be their go-to.
Welcome, Midway Monster. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome, Fun Speculation. Thanks for stopping by. Yep. Mav says that he also has the controller issue. You've got to do a hard reset. It's annoying.
Yeah, but I've got to get off the sofa to go and bloody turn it on.
Oh, fuck
it, I'm staying here.
I don't think you need to check that voltage issue I told you to check.
I need a big stick.
But don't listen to
the Prophet. Welcome, Prophet. Oh, no. Are you doing a Prophet cast on the same day? Oh, okay. Fair enough. I will stop by and check it out definitely. It's a good show. Profit runs called the Profit Cast, where he interviews people as such, like creators and people in the community. So it's a very good show. Welcome, Caitlin. Thanks for stopping by.
Hello.
We can't help but notice you, Caitlin. You're definitely the better half.
It's gone quiet. Come on, we can't have this. Oh, there he goes again.
Again.
This could be the theme throughout the whole of this podcast. Please be aware of that.
Just so you know, in case you missed it on Twitter.
In case you missed it on Twitter or any of the other ways he sent it, smoke signals.
Twitter, Twitch, Vime, Facebook, pigeon signals,
Welcome, Indie Gamer.
The awkward one was
Back from the dead. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. The awkward one was Grindr. He mentioned it on Grindr. It was really weird.
That's where his biggest engagement was, if I remember correctly.
I've never heard of it.
You say that, yeah.
Just Google it, Stubbs, you'll be fine.
With a name like Stubbs on Grindr, I can guarantee you your engagement is.
Well, no. Any more thoughts on 18 million subs on Game Pass?
I pay for 2 of them.
Yeah.
Would you like a question? Would you all like a family plan then?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
Family plan would be nice. I mean, even though I don't have family, a family plan would be helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. I pay for 3 ultimate passes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's like 30. How much is that a month then?
Too much.
$10.99. I'm terrible.
£33.
Yeah.
33 quid.
Wow.
£33 a month.
We've got an Xbox investor on the podcast. 33, that's a lot. Wow.
I mean, that would be a smart move from Xbox if they did a cheaper family option. So, family option is going to be, I don't know, £15 or £20. You can see, okay, and that gives you, I don't know, 5 channels or something like that. A bit like Netflix, isn't it? Netflix gives you, was it 5 separate accounts which you can use.
It's 5 or 6, isn't it?
Is it?
I think you have 6,
something like that. Yeah.
So I mean that would make sense in terms of, especially for families. You can imagine it, and especially for those families who are separated. Where your dad's at home in one area, your kids are in some other area, your uncle's maybe in the other area. Can easily tie people together, and in essence, would help probably get more people into the gaming. Imagine if you could speak to your granddad or your brother or your cousin who's far away, especially in terms of lockdown, and say, look, I've just got this game, go and get it. Now admittedly people do that anyway, but that's a little bit more money in their pocket for them to actually spend on games. So it would make sense if they did a family plan, and I'm surprised. I probably think they're going to do something like that. It's probably in their budget or in their this is a testing water for Xbox at the moment, and we've got to remember that this is a testing water. And I suspect if they see the benefit in it, of course they'll expand it.
I really hope so.
Of course, a lot of the need for gold is going to go away since you're dropping the paywall. A lot of the need for some of that's going to.
Gold itself, if they get rid of the paywall, as they've said, is another gateway.
Right.
It's a gateway for those who don't have as much funds, and they can see the benefit of things. When they start seeing, the different games or the benefits, then they'll move on to those higher tiers. So I think the question there is a discussion, I suppose, that could be have. Some people say, oh, should we get rid of gold? Some people say you should still keep it. I don't know. I suppose it's, as I said, it's a gateway. It's another gateway and another option for people to try and enter the ecosystem.
Right.
So why limit those options? Now, I suppose in my head is why limit the options?
Yeah.
May not do as well, but
it is a situation gamers have created though, because it's like welcome Still Rain. Thanks for stopping by. It is a situation gamers have actually created. It's like Indie Gamer spoke to him a lot about it. Basically, obviously, PC's always been free. Console has been paid for, but back in the day when it was brought in, gamers didn't stand up and kick off and shit like that, right? And that's why we've always been accustomed to paying for it. And it's a model that will never go because they know there's too much money in it, and they know gamers will pay it regardless. They will still pay for it. You know,
the way I always looked at it was, especially when it first started on the OG Xbox, they had to pay for upkeep, they had to pay for servers, they had to pay to build the backbone, you know. And if you remember right, especially early on, Xbox multiplayer or party chat abilities and whatever were far superior to anything Sony had out.
Yeah,
and Sony's was free. So I think I understood why they needed money to make a better system. You know,
because I remember when the PS4 was launched, and I remember because I was a family member to like the PS3, and I kept saying to them, "Says they're going to charge for online." No, they're not. So they're going to charge for it because over the years, Sony executives had moaned, "These servers cost money to run. It all costs money.
Yeah.
We're losing money," and then they announced it. But obviously, then it could come to light that free-to-play games were still free to play. But in general, most people pay for online if they're going to play. You know what I mean? But
Right.
you are right; it does cost money, but it's a hard one for them because I still believe there's a large percentage of, I don't know numbers because this is the annoying thing about Xbox and the way they're not actually transparent, even though everyone thinks they are. Right, 100 plus million on Xbox Live. Why won't they tell you who's on free on the silver version and who's on gold? You see, they're not actually very transparent because 100 million sounds great, but who's on PC? Does that seem the PC players too? Because I still think there's a large base of gamers on gold and it's in the millions paying for each year. I think there's a big base of people that still haven't converted over. You know. And they don't say them numbers though because they're not. I don't know why, you know, but
and like I said the other day, I don't even think we have silver in the States anymore. I think that's strictly you guys. I don't think we do a silver anymore.
I don't actually know if we. I don't know if they do. I just presume that if you didn't pay for Xbox Live Gold or have Game Pass, that it still worked and it was just called silver. I don't actually know, but yeah, from the speculation is right. 51% gaming revenue growth is awesome. It is. But the gaming division as a whole, Game Pass will get there eventually.
Yep.
It's not a big profit. Game Pass isn't still, I know a lot of people don't think it, but Aaron Greenberg out a while ago, still not in the profit. Gaming division is, but the Game Pass isn't yet. And I think you probably got to hit probably 25 to 40 million subs plus. They plan to go big with this, though. You're not talking that they want to get over 100 plus,
right?
You know,
Well,
and the
as I said,
family
this
plan would help as well.
Well, this is, as I said, this is a service which is still in its infancy in terms of what it is. You know, it's what you get out of it, the sub services out of it. You know, your cloud, your streaming capabilities, your gaming on mobile. You know, all those elements is still in its infancy, and they are taking a risk. Now, obviously, they can see that it is slowly growing, but until that is confirmed to be a substantial profit, you know, that's what, you know, it's an idea and hoping that it will move forward with that idea. And other platforms are watching it very carefully. I think VJ's mentioned this before. It's like,
Yeah.
I suspect Sony is very carefully watching what's going on and seeing, you know, whether or not it'll be viable for them. You know, they probably are doing very similar sort of things in the background, which we don't know about. Which is, you know, they could be, you know, I think they're creating their own servers, creating their own ecosystem, or making it more robust. So it doesn't surprise. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if this is obviously going to get bigger and better, and then it's going to be one of those things. Then it'll be a flip switch. It'll be, well, we don't need this anymore because most of our customers, as you rightly said, you know, have now transferred over, but it hasn't happened yet,
No.
and that is why.
Exactly. It's like
And
the
you can
thing
see
is-
that. You can see that with the price raise.
Yeah, the 100 million though to get to wouldn't be. It sounds difficult, but if they can get the right games on the cloud version for the Asian markets like Japan, etc., where they love mobile and their internet's that fast that you wouldn't lag out or anything. If they obviously you'd have to give them markets a different price because they're only be playing via the tablet. They may have an optimized version of it. Because say they've not got consoles, they're just using the tablet, so you can't charge. It's not fair to charge people the same price there. But I think if you can get that market there alone, is massive. You see,
Well, that's what I was about to say too.
Yeah.
That may be what they're waiting on is to see how xCloud takes off in those markets, Japan, Korea. You know,
South Korea, Japan, China,
Yeah.
those aspects will be a big hit, and that will be millions of revenue. It just effectively takes. It's almost like a genie in a bottle. It just needs one thing for the cork to pop to see that explode. We don't know what it is, and no one kind of knows what it is until it really, it pops. But I think that was their gateway into the areas which they have kind of been into the countries they have kind of been slightly lacking into, and we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be in the next couple of years. I reckon you're going to see a very vast change in what is going to be coming. It's intriguing.
I was looking at some information on South Korea earlier on today, in fact, because I believe that's where Tencent's going to try and make their next move. Just South Korea alone, I believe it's worth $17 billion in gaming revenue.
Oh,
wow!
Just South Korea, 17 billion, not million, billion. It's huge because it's worth. I think the industry itself is worth something like 600 billion, isn't it?
Remember, they've also partnered with one of the country's most prestigious. Yes, corporations. I was going to say development team, but it's corporation. Effectively, it's one of the top tier. It's this. I would say it's South Korea's Apple. Effectively, I don't want to knock its name or anything in that regards, but effectively, so they've already have opened the door to a large number of customers, and I think if I remember correctly reading saying that Gamepass was going to appear on every Samsung device from either, I think it was like from 2019 devices upwards. I think they were going to try and make sure it was on every device, regardless. So it's always sitting there. So you can imagine that you've just now got this application just pop up to 17. Was it? I don't know. As you said, is it? I don't know how big the country is. It's I don't know.
There's a lot of people.
Billions of people.
And that's just one country, like you say, animated alone.
Yep.
If they can get the right games into their version of game, because I don't believe if they can get the right games they like over there, and because I don't believe they will pay what we're paying, because it's the only service they're getting is mobile. I don't think they can justify because we have the console, the mobile, everything. They're just paying for the cloud. But even with them numbers, even if they charge slightly less, with the amount of people they could attract, will be worth it.
Yep.
Well, I can tell you now from being in the Alpha Ring, and for some of the other people who will be in the Alpha Ring, if you're like me, you should have probably seen a lot more. They do surveys in the Alpha Ring, a lot more surveys regarding. I'm thinking of the actual terminology now of basically is this? Oh my God, I'm sorry. I do apologise. The dialogue options.
Yeah.
And for dialogue options for other countries, I'm seeing a lot of push from the surveys now saying, have you used this different dialogue option elsewhere? Is the dialogue correct? Is it up to standard? Is it, sufficient? Is it, quick? And that kind of hints to me that is, they're gearing up for that particular aspect, so that the dialogue options for South Korea will be, next to none.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Have you got any thoughts on this, VJ?
No, I mean I've spoken about this past, and statistics are all good and well, but I think the underlying nature of what you're talking about, the deals with SK Telecom and Samsung, again, all of that is just testing at the moment, and regardless of the value of those the industries within those specific territories, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo have tried to capitalize on those for decades, and that are not successful. So I think it's pie in the sky, if I'm being quite frank with you. And as I said to you before, Microsoft haven't answered the question in terms of how do they go about making these initiatives count, how do they sustain customers, and why is it that the low-hanging fruit in terms of, I don't know, 50 million Xbox One overs, 100 million Steam accounts that are actually active and purchasing content, that's low-hanging fruit right there, and why haven't they managed to convert those guys over to Game Pass? And I think it goes back to the point you've already made. Their titles that have influence over an audience in terms of a must-play game. Okay, we're not in the paradigm where Microsoft are creating AAA games that sell hardware. They need big hitters right now to sell Game Pass subscriptions. And also, we still don't have a number. Yes, fine. Xbox had its biggest ever launch in terms of revenue. But I'll go to your point, Mr. Stubbs. There is no number to determine what that actually is. We know it's a $500 machine, but do we need to go all the way back to the beginning of the Xbox 360 to sort of figure out how many units they've actually shipped?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, because I got people moaned at me at the time, but it's okay announcing biggest launch in history, but they didn't say how many they shifted.
No, it's all smoke and mirrors, and the PR and the language used, that's all it is. And it's to incite a user base to acknowledge and to sort of propagandize the fact that, hey, look, we're doing really, really well. But as I've said to you already, it doesn't matter. It's any streaming service, given the current environment of the world, anyone selling anything digitally, or if you're Amazon, is doing amazingly well. You only have to look at the growth in the owner of Amazon in terms of his wealth. What was it, 40 billion or something? So right now, what it is, all that Xbox has done is hit a wave. Right, Sony's hit a wave, Nintendo's hit a wave, but it's out of circumstance. It's born out of circumstance and conditions that have allowed allowed the increase in revenue that they've received. There's no rocket science about it. There's no medal to be pinned on Microsoft for doing well, because, as I said to you, everybody in their situation is doing really well at the moment. And I'll go back to what Removable Sanity is saying, which I've said as well. Everything is in an embryonic stage right now. It's a 3 to 5 year plan initially of a 10-year plan, and the results are far, 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 far away from being in right now.
Yeah, it's just a case of wait and see, and as it progresses, it's one of these ongoing situations. It is. We just have to see what happens. But
I mean, someone in the chat's put, "Don't complain about slow and steady." That's fine, but it's smoke and mirrors. There is no facts or figures that you can provide me to say it's slow and steady at the moment, because at the moment, as I said to you, everybody's riding a wave, and it happens whether you buy stocks and shares or whether you sell digital software. It makes no difference at the moment.
Yeah, no, because a while ago, because someone asked me, I said our Game Pass don't make money. Well, Aaron Greenberg went on Twitter and actually said, yeah, it doesn't make any money at the minute. It's a long game. It makes money, but it's not. It doesn't equate to profit. You see.
Absolutely. And as I said to you, the initiatives that Removable Sanity spoke about with Samsung, I think it was for their latest phone that they pre-installed Game Pass into their new phone, and you're allowed to access Game Pass, I think, for 3 months. And also they hooked up with SK Telecom, so if you subscribed or became a subscriber of SK Telecom and purchased the phone, again, you've got 1 to 3 months of Game Pass free of charge. And they delayed launching in Japan because they wanted to see the results. And I think it's St. Phil said, look, we're going to launch in the first half of this year, because primarily because they wanted to see how they would succeed or fail in South Korea. And again, there's been no news or update on that. And I think primarily the fact that you can launch these initiatives, but what are the initiatives to sustain those customers and maintain them? And that's Microsoft's biggest challenge at the moment. And even I don't know the answer to that. But I go back to what Mr. Tushi was saying. It's going to be down to the software and the games to entice you to remain in the ecosystem. But I think it's more of a case of, again, how many mobile gamers do you know that don't have an Xbox system that are paying the $15 a month? I think, as Removable Sanity says, mobile devices is to get the brand out there, make people aware, and then need to have initiatives where people think, you know what, I love the games, don't want to play them on my mobile, but you know what, I'll go out and buy an Xbox Series S. And that's what those initiatives need to be. I don't know what those are because Microsoft never told us, but that would be my game plan. It's all about conversion, right?
It's true. It's true. It's just a wait and see. We will,
Because they keep saying 3 billion gamers for the last, since the launch of since 2018, I think.
I just think that's a goal that I'd love to get, but attaining that goal won't happen. But we'll have to say we will. That was a good subject anyway. It was. I welcome Spooky Sprocket Gaming. How you doing? Welcome Fastback. What else we got? Someone else came in.
Yeah. How many teeth are on that sprocket?
His nose in.
See Black Rider, welcome. Centurion. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Appreciate you stopping by. We're going to shift gears now into a different topic. There's a website called cbr.com. I had an article. I'm not going to read it all, but the basic premise of the article brings up a good subject in gaming. Sorry, but video games graphics don't matter. Cutting edge graphics are often a video game's biggest selling point. But great graphics don't make great games. They don't make great games, as many bestsellers have proven. I'm not going to read the entire article, but I think everyone gets the premise of what they're getting at. So, would you not agree with it? This statement?
Who's going to go?
It's a tough one. The way I feel about this is that the graphics do entice you into the game, but I feel like I bond with the character more when it's more realistic and stuff. But I still do the same with cartoon games as well, so I can't really say that. But to me, it doesn't matter. It's like, for example, I love Sea of Thieves, and that's the cartoony graphics and stuff. And shift gears.
Still looks good though, doesn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah,
well, I think that's still great graphics. I think they didn't say realistic graphics; they just said good-looking graphics. Yeah, I will say that for me personally, graphics that look good, be it Sea of Thieves or even Blair Witch, had some awesome-looking graphics. They draw me in. They definitely, and they keep me engaged. There are games like I don't. No offense to those that like these kind of games, the retro-looking games that look like 8-bit games. I'm sure they're cool, but I can't get into them. I did that back in the 90s. I don't need to go back there again.
Here's a good example. Could you play Sea of Thieves if it was in Minecraft graphics?
No.
Well,
I can barely play Sea of Thieves. I mean, Minecraft, and it is the graphics that initially put me off of Minecraft.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. I think they do matter, but it's not. It depends on the game, I think, really, and what the actual goal is. It's like, for example, the game Carrion. I think that's got brilliant graphics. It reminds me of the old days, but it feels new. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, it reminded me of King's Quest and all that stuff. This Sierra Online stuff. And
that game is brutal.
And the original Quake, for those of us who are old. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm torn, to be fair. Graphics can get you in the first instance, but a lot quicker than gameplay can. But I see the draw of the older looking games as well, because being like Paul said, he did it all back in the 90s. But that takes me back to my childhood, a really old looking game. And that's when, when we were all innocent and it was fun and new and exciting, and it just takes me back to that place. So something that is a bit blocky and old, I can get on board with.
Yeah, it's like what Indy says here. It's like they do entice you in. It's like when you go in a game shop. This was years ago for me, but you look at the back of the thing, look at the pictures, and you're like, "Wow, that looks amazing," and then you buy it. I don't know, but then when you're playing the game, you're enjoying it. It don't fucking matter to me. If you're enjoying the game,
right? I think the headline is wrong in saying graphics don't matter, because they do. They serve a purpose. Be it
that's a clickbait headline. Let's be honest with it. It's a clickbait headline to do such a thing. What it is, the idea of that, does it matter in terms of the whole entity of the game? Probably not. I would argue that potentially the gameplay is the for those who review games. Yes, graphics is a factor. I would argue, is it fun? Is the biggest thing. If you enjoy a game like Pac-Man with barely any graphics, you can still have fantastic amount of fun. The graphics may not be up to scratch. Tetris, I mean, how many times that's been reinvented? Numerous times with slightly different graphics to even the latest reiteration. It's the gameplay which will be the pinnacle, I think. Everything else is, I would classify as bonus, topping to the cake. If you find yourself enjoying a game, if it has great graphics, brilliant. If it has great sound, even better, maybe more immersive. If it has a good frame rate, I know that's going to be a little bit of a controversial issue. You could absolutely have to a degree, you could have a choppy frame rate but still enjoy yourself. I know a lot of people can't say that, but we're from the eras that where we had 3 FPS, so I'm kind of old enough to I could still enjoy myself in that regards. I think, to be honest with you, is if we went straight for the title and it says, does graphics matter? No, but then you could use that singular statement on sound. You could use that singular statement on frame rate. But frame rate would probably be argued a little bit more by, I would say.
right.
But I think it's a topping. It's a topping to an already what would be the most important thing, which is gameplay and enjoyment. I would say actually enjoyment of the game. If you're enjoying the game, everything else falls to the side.
Yeah.
I mean, how many?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, please do.
I was going to say, like I mentioned earlier, I played Battlefront 2 this last week. It looks great. I can't stand the gameplay. So
and that's exactly. It's a strange one. If you're enjoying yourself, and I know you will you inadvertently kind of not worry about the other aspects.
right.
Now, how many people have gone and said, "Oh, this is a fantastically beautiful game." Take start screenshots and everything like that. But that's all they do because everything else is boring. There is, everyone's got their own individual opinion, but I would hesitate to guess to say that generally, if they find it fun and engaging, that is the main top tier element which they're after. As Tushi said, Carrion. Again, I absolutely love that, but the graphics look a little bit dated, but it feels fresh.
Yep.
So it's the headline has been obviously utilized to. And it's done exactly what it's done. It's done exactly what is intended. When we're talking about it right now,
Right.
It's there to prompt the discussion, prompt the clicks.
Yeah. For that, it should be given props, because I don't think that from time to time having a refresher does any harm. I mean, I've briefly looked at the article and I understand the sentiment, right? It's an emotional one. That's the first thing you have to understand. Once you get emotional or attached, you only spout nonsense. And that's the truth of the matter, right? Your mind goes misty and you say things which are personal to you or something's frustrated you. Very rarely do you find the truth, because in a state of emotion, because more often than not, that's when you listen. Sorry, when you hear. No, you don't even listen. You hear very, very little. What's going on in the background? I can't even.
So my parents just start having sex.
Oh my god! Why aren't you streaming that, Mr. Tushi? So, anyway, because and why do people get upset or emotional? Because it goes against one's sensibilities and beliefs, right? Whether it's in gaming or any other walk of life. I mean, the best ways to be as Mr. Tushi is, right? We often talk about graphics or frame rates or games or loading times. And the one thing Mr. Tushi and Bill Murray, would say is it just doesn't matter, and enjoy yourself with, as Paul was saying, with digital or physical, a la carte platter or buffet, whatever's on offer, right? What comes to me is that video game graphics specifically, from everybody that's spoken so far, is absolutely an individual truth. And a force of Mother Nature, as and when she chooses something to appear through a selected individual or a team who is open and receptive to receive and produce whatever's needed at a specific point in time. Then I've seen studios where they're sitting there wondering, right, and it's always going to come down to a blend of visuals, their fidelity, as you mentioned, sound, audio, gameplay, and storytelling, right. And for each and every conceived game, right, it's always going to come down to within the realms or within the parameters of the talent on the product, the budget and time available in terms of creation, conception, blend, and the maturity and the ability and output. If not, and that's just at the birth of the project, right? Let alone the development time frame needed, right, and milestones that need to be hit. Everything created comes from a third layer: games, clothing, or even the stuff that you watch removable in terms of anime, right? Like other mediums are a canvas for, I don't know the best way to put it, artistic savants, right? To set the tone for a visual sense, style, and language. Visuals do matter to a degree. That's I think it's important, depending on what the vision is and what you're trying to get across and offer to your audience, right? I mean, just as you were talking, the games that kind of popped in my mind were, would games such as Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian, Loco Roco, Parappa the Rapper, or even Samba de Amigo, right? Would they have seen the kind of success if visuals weren't taken into consideration? I mean, I don't know who mentioned their past. I think it was Animated Evil, saying, when this topic came up, or when you mention certain games, given the time he's been gaming, it takes him back to his childhood and brings back nostalgia almost as far back as he can remember. So visuals have an attraction. It can also place memories in a point in your own personal history that you recall and you rejoice with, right? And that's the sentiment, that's the energy that I felt from when Animated Evil was speaking. Because visuals attract you to a game, or and even in real life, whether you're attracted to a blonde, brunette, or redhead, right? As Paul's probably attracted to all three. Anyway, the point being, and that I think is critical. The story is part of the discovery, and the all important aspect in terms of gameplay and music will determine how long the personality and the playfulness of the game itself will engage you, or if the experience is something you will hold close to your heart, or if you're just going to put it down and say that wasn't for me. I think, as Paul mentioned, was a Battlefield, one of the Battlefields he wasn't really keen on. But for me, I always hark back to Japanese games, and especially games like Okami, Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy, especially since Tetsuya Nomura joined the franchise, right? Charlie Wen, when he produced God of War, and I think most recently for me, and I'll speak for myself here because I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, is Cyberpunk, right? And that can set off almost like a chain reaction where people gravitate towards art, and it inspires or can spark and ignite music, story, and worlds and gameplay and possibilities and even more ideas. I think that pushing those boundaries constantly are important, whether it's any of those that I've mentioned, whether it's art, music, and story, because from those, taking those into account and those becoming part of your experience is what sparks more creativity. That would be my point. But I think as I said, I don't want to keep going on and on and on. As I think that the question is, and the answer is that it's all very much an individual truth.
I just had a thought, way back in the day, like almost 25 years ago, I think there was a game called Carmageddon, and it was a lot of fun. Basically, you ran over people. It was awesome. It was.
Did you ever put the code in to get the red blood on PC?
Yeah, and they And the original was really cool. I mean, it was fun to play. The graphics were so for that day. They came out with a sequel, and the graphics were supposed to be updated and look so much better. And that game was not near as much fun. It just didn't have the same feel, didn't have the same sense of humor. You know, it failed at storytelling, but the graphics were better. But it was a worse game. You know.
I think that, make no mistake, the eye of love or the self or your inner consciousness or has a unique taste, right, for most.
Right.
And I think that's really, really important, right? And we all know that the eye of love and hate, right, is quite discriminating, right, when it comes to pretty much anything. I remember last week where it was on Boom's show, and the topic came up about how brilliant Project Mara, is it Project Mara from Ninja Theory,
right?
And the visuals that they put out in terms of in-game renders and real life images, and asking people to basically putting them together to give a contrast and a feeling of, can you tell the difference? For me, and as I said right there and then, it's okay, that's fine. It's not really about the color or texture from an image that should impress you. That's an emotive, maybe even a juvenile and narrative-led reaction. It's nothing really new, right, in terms of visual design. But for me, that game is going to be all about its mystery and intrigue, right, surrounding a title that looks that good, right, as a piece of artistic creation, right, specifically in terms of Project Mara. That should set your imagination alight, right? But you know that you're going to get something that looks good. But then it goes back to, I think, Indie Gamer in the chat and the Stubbs posted is, look, gameplay is fundamentally what's most critical, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't really be playing games as much. If there was fiddly as, say, Dragon's Lair was back in the day on the 3DO. But and we're probably going back a bit too far.
Yeah, here's an example. A couple of days ago, me and Al spent a few hours on Battlefield 1943 to try it out for the community game night. And the game, it kept us engaged because it was a fun game to play, but we had to turn it off in the end because it was really hurting our eyes. It was horrible.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I thought for when it was done, though, it looked really good. I mean,
if you ever want to try and realize how far things have gone forward, go back to an old game. Some of the most fun games I've had have been destroyed because I've gone back to play them years ago.
I did the same with 1995 Star Wars Dark Forces.
Oh yeah,
that had amazing graphics back in the day. I went on it. I ran it on an emulator on my PC. It's fucking horrible. Christ,
Yeah, it's a bit so like myself. I had BC Races on the Mega CD. Went back to that, and I was like, "How could I even have seen the race?" It was going at 12 frames per second. It was very blurry, and it was like, and I knew back then I played that thing for hours because the gameplay was so much fun. But looking at it now, it's like, Jesus Christ! It looks like it's been just thrown at the screen. I think everyone so far, everyone's agreeing so far is that I think it's as you said, the gameplay seems to be the core element. If that can hold you, if that is fun, everything everything else is as individually subjective as VJ you were saying.
Well, and like right now, look at the medium's coming out, and one of the biggest complaints I've seen about the medium is how the graphics look like old 360 graphics. Blah blah blah. Okay, well, that's fine, but as long as the story holds my interest and it's an interesting game, I'm still going to enjoy it.
The sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going through the Digital Foundry review of that, and what I found intriguing was the very first thing they said was you have to realize that particular game in an instance, when it does split screen, it's not one game trying to load those assets. It's effectively two games simultaneously running together. Yeah. Dual rendered, dual assets, dual ray tracing, and you think, Jesus Christ, that point you think that's quite impressive.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, if you can do that if most people are moaning about that on a one screen, getting two side by side coordinated and getting the same sort of and getting double those assets going at once, that's still very impressive. You may not like the graphics, but that's still exceptionally impressive to have two loads of assets all powering off at the same time.
It's the first game to actually do that. You know that. I think that there is a section in Metal Gear Solid 4, I think, I'll have to check this, towards the end of the game, there's a fight sequence where where the screen is split and rendering two sets of parts of the same level.
Is that the sniper level?
No, not the sniper level. I can't remember. I can see the picture, but I can't remember the character names and so on and so forth. And I think that it was a long time ago, but I think that I don't know how much is actually being offset or how much is, the power of the Xbox is actually being used. I think the concept is probably going to be new to a lot of people, and it's a unique selling point for the game specifically. And again, it comes from how the product was conceived and the ability to do it and capitalize on it. I haven't played the game, so I can't tell you how well it's been executed. I'm sure stuff like dialogue, animation systems, rigging, and so on and so forth are kind of there is some economies of scale there, so on and so forth. But in terms of execution of the concept itself, I've only glanced at a few reviews scores, and they seem to be quite sort of diverse. But that's just purely subjective. I'd like to try the game for myself and determine whether it's sort of up my alley.
No, obviously that's going to be the best way of dealing with it. I just found it was when they were discussing the actual attributes in the software, it just kind of was like, I didn't appreciate until they mentioned it, because it was just, to me it just looked, it's just one game rolling off one sets of assets, when actually it wasn't doing that. It wasn't until they mentioned it was like, oh, okay, that's different. So then I could see. I could see what was going on beyond what you were just seeing in front of you, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess we again, it's probably one of these discussions that will probably end up happening next week. It'll be once some of us have had a chance to play it, because I know I'll be trying to test it out. If it or not it manages to accomplish what it sets out and achieve. I think, what is you saying? They were getting scores of what, 70, 80, and 90s?
Right. They're all over the place. Yeah.
They're not bad. But then again, this is artistic games. And this is where I kind of held back to The Last of Us Part 2. It's an artistic game.
Yep.
Artistic games provide diverse opinions, regardless of what it is.
Yeah. And horror games very seldom score above 80 anyway.
Yeah, this is true, because it is a kind of niche market, to a degree. But any artistic game is a diverse thing. What in this particular instance, the gaming media is replicating what I've seen from independents in terms of how they score it. That was always kind of telling to me is whether or not I always like to hope and believe that the gaming media represent, when they're doing these reviews, they represent the gaming industry as a whole, and they have kind of been failing a little bit in the last couple of years to do so. So it's not, and I use the independents as almost like an anchor. Because we don't really want to get to the point where we are with films. It's like, if the critics hate it, that means the entire, everyone's going to love it. Yeah. How many times we've seen that? It's like, the critics hate it. Well, this must be a good film then. It's that sort of situation. So I, as you said, she's a little bit like you guys said. I'm kind of holding off looking at any reviews. Obviously I can spot them through the social media, just appearing up. But until I play it myself, and then once I complete it, then I'll go back upon and seeing the reviews, whether or not they have, been not narrative led, should I say?
Yeah.
Yes.
And to be fair, I haven't really looked deeply into any reviews. I've just seen some quick little comments, and because I don't look at reviews for games, especially the likes of IGN or whatever. No, it doesn't happen.
I mean, I can. To be honest with you, I'm one of these guys who generally flicks between. When I look at something, I always go from a variety of different sources. So I might look at IGN, but then again, I also look at independents. I might look at someone else who I know is going to be different, but then I'm one of these guys who will probably look at about probably 8 to 9 reviews, and that's including independents. And then it'll be like, well, does this? And then I'll probably play it myself, and then make my own mind up. I kind of do it just to see. I kind of look at. I like reading. It's a throwback from the old days where I used to like reading reviews. Back when the gaming media was very young, it was very fresh. It was looked down upon by journalism as a whole. It was the dirty secret in the journalism world. It was very much a ugh, what are you doing here sort of thing.
Yeah.
And up to about, and it's grown and grown and grown steadily to the powerhouse it was in around the 2000s. And then for some reason, it's just started to slide down again, and you're like, ugh, why?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's me. I just didn't. I like to I do like to read, but I also like to make up my own mind personally. It's one of those things. Look at a different variety of different sources, and then also just then do it myself and have a look at myself. That's me.
No, you all got very valid points. I mean, obviously the subject is very personal to yourself as the way you like games. It's like the way I like Edith Finch. I will make a video or have a talk on this as to why I do like it, but it's very different, and I can't explain it. I need to replay it and I think about it, because that game to me is like a 9. I rated it 9.5, and that's a bloody good game. But that isn't a AAA highly graphical game. I think it's all on personal preference. To me, although graphics, everyone's saying graphics are important, and they are, but not in all circumstances. It depends. It's like if I was to play Gears, and say for instance a shooter, generally shooters have to be the right kind of graphics, either like Fortnite photorealistic or like Gears. Go back again. Fortnite cartoon realistic, stylized realistic, and then there's Gears photorealistic. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you forgot about the cell shaded aspect of the FPSs.
No, I'm not really into but I will come up with the reason indie game or why I do love it. I've got to replay it and I'll give it a mini review. I will.
Something twained with you, isn't it? That's what it is. As with all gamers, a particular game, it resonated with you. I've said it before. One of the reasons I've moved over to different platforms is because normally when they say I was a platform seller, that wasn't the platform seller for me. The platform seller for me was actually a game that most people didn't like or didn't even want to go near. It wasn't their top tier platform. It was like, oh, actually, games look good. I'll get that because that looks interesting, and I played it and I loved it. It's a very much, as VJ has pointed out succinctly, it's a very much an individual's taste.
Yep. I like the Edith Finch for the mystery aspect. The mystery aspect of Edith Finch is what drew me in. I like a game like that tells an interesting story that you've got to work your way through, and it drew you in. From the little cutaways to the scenes to the flashbacks,
Yeah, I'm hoping the medium has some sort of storyline that will do exactly the same thing. Yeah, Edith Finch is amazing. Yep. So
when I saw the main character in the game, I thought it was the lead character from Control that had the 3D model slightly amended.
Yes, I know what you mean.
They're saving on costs.
Well, they're using camera. They're using it. Well, they're using camera styles back from like the Silent Hill, era.
Yeah.
And then they're obviously they're obviously using different techniques to kind of circumvent that as well. It's intriguing. That's what I've got. It is. It's intriguing, and until I play it, I won't know whether or not it meets its standard.
The only. I mean, I'm going to try the game. The only thing that jarred me a little bit, I was looking to see what the engine was, because the animation system looked a little strange, and it does use the Unreal Engine, if I'm not mistaken, and that has a fantastic, animation and motion system, and I was. It looks slightly strange. Maybe once I've loaded up and I play it, I can understand why they've done it like that. But it was interesting to say the least.
do remember it's not a AAA studio that's dealing with it as well.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the tools are there. Where even if it isn't a AAA game, the tools, can. I think it's called motion matching. That they do it pretty straightforward now. It's not something that was like an issue several years ago, right? So it's part of the tools that you're provided, right? It should be better than it is, but I don't know why. I'm not sure why. I'll have to play it and then discuss it with you.
But at the same time, the tools are only as good as the person using them.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Unreal Engine prides itself, and obviously we play Unreal Engines unbeknownst to ourselves, sort of pretty much every other day. But
right.
It's like on a baseline, it seems to not even hit the baseline that's provided. It's sort of regressed from it, but and I don't know why. But I'll have to look at it more closely to really.
Well, again, this is one thing that I also was trying to wonder out, and it could be again. We're looking at, if you look at it from a complex development point, maybe it's to do with the fact that it's now trying to do double the numerous things it's supposed to. So they've had to scale back certain aspects so that it could run reasonably well. If you're loading in, if you're ray tracing double two different elements at the same time, we all know how ray tracing alone kills frame rate and the game itself. If you're loading in double the amount of assets at the same time, maybe that is a as you quite rightly said, maybe that is where they've had to come back. They've gone, well, we can't make this game run perfect unless we scale back something else. And I think that's done with most games. They always look at saying, well, we would have preferred it to go down this way, but unfortunately we couldn't do that, so we've had to scale back in this direction. And that's, again, more of like a design choice, isn't it?
Yep.
Not that I'm defending it, I'm just saying that's maybe one of the reasons upon which it is.
I'm not technically well versed enough to sort of to counter any argument or suggestion, because I simply don't know the overhead cost of applying the animation engine within Unreal Engine your design.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we're not kind of aware of, and it's only those who work on the development side of things will be acutely aware of the ins and outs and the struggles, effectively. Obviously, it's nice to get developers talk about that. I always find that interesting because, if anything, that leads a lot of gamers to be a bit more sympathetic to the developers. When you start realizing the struggles they've had to go through to get something done, you're like, oh Christ, really? Is that okay? Rather than why just didn't they do this?
Yeah.
I can just jump in there because have you heard of Season Gaming? This YouTube channel. He runs a great website, Ainsley. He came on the Stubbscast, and recently they did an industry perspective series on YouTube. And Lord Cognito mentioned when they do developer interviews at the PAX events, and he says he loves the stories most where their developers mention, well, they've done this thing in the game where gamers have gone, gamers have moaned about it. When the actual developer turns around and explains why they had to do it. In sometimes it's in most of the case, he says it's a thing that's been taken out of the developer's hands, and stories like that he loves to hear. When they actually say, there was a big backlash about this bit in this game, what we did, but here's the reason why. And he says he loves that bit, part of the interview. He thinks that's the most interesting part. But the developer says, "Do you remember this bit with the game?" And people weren't happy. Well, this is why.
Very much so. It's it's one of the probably the greatest things that I enjoy mostly dealing with indie games is I get to speak directly. Well, we did before the old pandemic was speaking directly to the developers themselves, and the stories you hear, if anything, just inform you of the struggles and tribulations they have to deal with, not only in a software environment, but in every aspect. And it's thoroughly engaging. You think, Christ, the things they have to kind of, the complications alone they have to deal with, is very much hidden from the end user. But that's with a majority of industries. Look at your house. How many of you know the ins and outs of every aspect and detail of what went into building your house? Very few, I suggest you, unless you're working in the industry. So it's a very much a similar sort of thing. You get the end product, and that's how you look at it. You see the package, you think, well, that's it, and we can all criticize that package, but you'll never get unless other developers step in and say, actually, we're just looking at the package from the outside.
Exactly, it's true. Yeah, it's have you got any thoughts, Animated Evil?
Not that hasn't been said, really. To be fair, I think they put it very, very elegantly.
Oh, it's been a good subject. I mean, I started off with graphics don't matter, then we leaded into the medium game. We did,
yeah.
But it's all connected there.
I don't really play scary games, but I'm torn on the medium. To be fair, I might play it, I might not. I'm an abject coward at heart.
I will
try it, and if you shit your pants, then put it away.
It might happen.
Here you go.
Oh, well, in that case, stream it. Stream your playthrough then. Yeah.
You don't want to hear me screaming.
That's
honestly.
for you. Oh.
I didn't pick one really.
Oh, no.
He's just getting a bit of apple pie.
I got something in my beard somewhere.
Apparently, he wants a rematch. By the way, so
No. Who's that? Well, he wants a rematch in Call of Duty, and I don't own Call of Duty. So unless somebody gifts it to me, it's not going to happen.
Any FPS game.
Well, Modern Warfare is free.
Halo.
Modern Warfare.
Titanfall. Titanfall.
Well, not Modern, but the part of it is the multiplayer part is
The Warzone.
Oh, I won't play that shite. I've tried it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Titanfall. Yeah, I think you got Titanfall, yeah.
Yeah,
Titanfall 2. Yeah, there you go.
Can you do one matches?
Yep.
Oh, I have to practice that then.
No, I didn't practice. I didn't practice for years.
I'm saying that I'm not as good as first-person shooters. Yeah, you can tune in via Spotify, Indy. That's more than welcome. I welcome all of you to check us out on Spotify.
Is that better, Indy?
He's turned his camera off now. But no, it's a great subject. And Fastback's just said, I have talked to many devs at PAX South, and they are passionate about their games and listening to what gamers want and trying to balance out that and what will work. And that's good to hear. I've had a lot of people say that when they speak to indie gamer, he enjoys going to the events and talking to they've got a specific indie one, haven't they?
EGX Res.
That's it. And he loves, because he had plans to go out to EGX, record and have interviews with developers and all that. But obviously, with the way the world is, it all went wrong. But hopefully in the future, Indy can do that, because I think he'll love it, doing that kind of content. It'd be great.
It is great, yeah. And what's good about the EGX Res is there's little individual rooms which you can kind of, book in with the developer and just say, can we have a bit of a private, powwow? And it's great to hear from them. Honestly, the stories they tell you are eye openers. You really realise how much someone's struggling, especially the individual developers. You think, this person alone, this one person's been creating this really fun game, and then you hear the struggles they've had to go through. Where they've sacrificed everything. They've sacrificed sleep. They're doing 2 or 3 jobs at the same task, whilst spending 3 hours at 5 a.m. trying to code something. It does bring a big of an eye opener to you, and what they've had to go through just so they can get something fun for you to play.
No, exactly. It's true. No, it's been a very good subject. It has. Yeah, I think we'll move on to our last topic. We will. So, fun topic for me, this, and I believe this would be a good topic for Cerebral Sanity. So then, what do we think about? Now you've all played now you've all played Gears 5 and the Hivebusters DLC. Animated, you have, haven't you?
Nope.
Oh,
We will be able to next month.
Well, I've got it. To be fair, I've got it. It's all good. It's one of
So
those
what do
games. It's because I'm still without the new Xbox, aren't I? So there's certain games I want to save until I pick up my Series X, and I will be getting
Yeah.
one very shortly. It's just the lack of being able to pick one up. That's the issue.
okay. We
there's
will
there's
talk
certain
about
games
it,
that-
but
It's fine.
don't talk
It's
about
fine. It's all good.
spoilers from
It's all good.
Hivebusters.
Well,
So
do you
what
wish
do
to
you think?
hold that off, though, just in case? Do you wish to hold that off and put another topic on?
No, it's fine. Go
I
for
know
it.
you're desperate for it, but I use that topic that you want to try and hold off until Animated
Trust
gets
me.
his
Trust
X.
me, you won't spoil it for me. Just go for it. I'm interested.
We'll go.
Stubbs?
We'll go off what our Gears 5 ended.
Go for it. Whatever.
What do you think the future of Gears 5 is, and do you think there should be a new mode? Because obviously you like Horde a lot. You like Horde in here. Do you think they should bring in and change mechanics and make new modes to try and attract new players to the franchise? Because obviously Gears, a lot of people don't know this, or might know this. Gears isn't growing in multiplayer numbers. Any thoughts on that?
I, for one, would like it bigger, multiplayer-wise.
Would you?
More
How?
people. I think, yeah, I would actually. Yeah, I'd like. Not a battle royale, but I think Horde could be bigger. Maybe. Obviously, I've done the 50 levels of Horde, and I'm sure there's more than one map and stuff. It's great fun. But yeah, I'd like multiplayer to be bigger. I don't think the lobbies are big enough.
Yeah.
I think I've already mentioned what I prefer. Previous
It's
shows.
quite interesting you say that, because if you let me explain what I mean by battle royale, you probably have a different reaction.
Probably.
So, say for instance, you had a team of COG, and you had a team of where you could be like the Locust, and say like you could be running around, you could be the Brewmark, and you could be, General Ram could be in there, and all sorts, that kind of battle royale, like a big team-based battle, rather
Like
than
Effectively, what
with
is
vehicles and stuff. Absolutely.
yeah.
That would
Well,
be good.
yeah, exactly. I think did I mention that on a previous podcast? I said that's something exactly what just like a team-based, or even a team-based battle royale horde mode where one team of individuals, the COG versus the oh my god, my brain's going. COG versus all the individual enemies, as a team-based situation. There is options there for them to look into, without a doubt. And it would be stupid for them not to try and at least test the waters on different variations or on different themes. There is always going to be two players on this, because I always kind of find that either you enjoy the multiplayer aspect of Gears, or you're just there for the single player story. Some like both, like myself, but some just are there solely for the single player story. It is what they first grew up with. And some there absolutely adore the multiplayer. And the single player story is more of a icing on the cake.
He's gone for a shit again.
Oh. I just bloody well knew he has, isn't he? That's it. He starts to top it and then pisses off when we all start, But I mean, that's how I think. To be honest, options is always going to benefit any game in a series. Better options, better choices is only going to benefit the gamers themselves. As long as they don't lose their hardcore player base, that's probably the bigger issue.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Yeah, I suppose
Go on.
so. Yeah.
VJ,
Yes, sir.
since you've been playing a lot of Gears lately, what would you like out of Gears to improve in the future, like over Horde mode, multiplayer, and the campaign and stuff?
I think first and foremost, I think Gears is probably the most alluring title for the Xbox series. As you remember, when I was trying to get a hold of an Xbox, I think I was speaking to you at the time. I was saying, Mr. Tushi, once I get it, I really would love to go through all the Gears of War with you.
Well, you said a few days ago you want to do Gears 5 again, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd love to play Gears 5 and Hive through more so. But you know, if the Horde mode allows more people to join, then I don't mind doing that. But look, to be quite honest with everybody, I enjoy the game from a perspective. It plays reasonably well, and it brings me engagement and joy, especially when playing it with and alongside others. I think that I don't think I've played all the existing online modes or played it to such a degree like yourself and Mr. Stubbs, so in terms of how enamored Mr. Stubbs is with the game. So my view is almost totally irrelevant compared to someone who knows the franchise, the storyline, as I say, is enamored with it. And it's
to be honest, I'd argue that. I'd say, to be honest, yours is more important.
No,
because you are a fresh-faced person who.
Because I'm more.
You're the target audience.
Yeah. No. So okay. So I'll go to the point that somebody made. Sorry, I forget who it was. So I do apologize. The fact that whatever they do is to make sure that the key facets that have everybody invested in right now, the core key invested group or hardcore gamers that love it, and you know, whether it's the story and various gameplay modes it has on offer, that those don't change or are slightly improved. And I'm sure they're going to go through testing processes behind the scenes to make sure that they'll sit well and right with everybody. But what I will say is that, okay, let's just say I am a novice or a fresh-faced newbie that's come into the franchise, even though I've been well aware of it, and I have played through Gears 1 and 2 several times in the past. What I will say is that options are always good and honestly welcome, as long as people don't criticize the developer for doing so, and as long as said developer delivers the basics that are expected, and the requirements right now are to a high standard, given the love that Gears 5 and the surprise of Hive Busters has received. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about, you have to remember, it's all about accessibility. And I don't just mean, you know, being able to play the game with all the accessible notions that Last of Us 2 had. I mean, in terms of how the game plays and the core visionaries behind it. And those shouldn't really change. And I know that Mr. Stubbs often speaks very highly of the Coalition, and that he feels that, you know, they've even got a lot more in the tank to offer. So I think it's important. There will always be a new generation of gamers that marketing and analytics also pipe in and deliver data, reports, and findings, and thus the developer will seek to make addendums to a franchise to bring those into the fold, into the franchise and the universe, and more accessible to more users and players. And this actually goes back to the topic that we began with, which was Game Pass, 18 million users, and that's probably the hardcore. And what about the 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 million over the next 5 years that Xbox want to bring in, that aren't familiar with Xbox franchises, that aren't familiar with their games, that they want the ecosystem because they game on different on devices which are not normally accustomed with high-end gaming because the infrastructure's never been there. So there's a hell of a lot to consider. And at the end of the day, it's a balancing act, and everything to the right degree is the trick or the puzzle Dells constantly have to solve. And I go back to your point, Removable, whether you're a small developer on your own funding a game and hoping to get a break or hoping to get noticed by Idea Xbox, or if you're a multiple 100-man studio, a sprawling team funded by first party, you know, there are, regardless of your vision and regardless of how astute you are and how you actually conceive a project and deliver it, there are outside factors and bearings that will have an influence on you. And as I said to you, and as you know, there's 2,000 games that Idea Xbox have launched since 2014, since Idea Xbox's inception. I mean, how many of those developers are still around? How many games didn't make it? Right, and as we've discussed time and time again, gamers are fickle. So if I was a gambling man, I would say, look, let's focus on what everybody loved about Gears, and if they can add additions and addendums to the game to make it more accessible and more enticing to others, then that's absolutely fine. But I'd hate to see people criticize it for having more options if the base game and the base story and the single player mode, or whether it's multiplayer mode aspects of the game, are not, expanded upon going forward. And I don't have a problem with it. But that's, again, coming from somebody who's not enamored or invested in the game. It's just somebody who really enjoys it.
Yeah, someone who's been not as biased or has, is still developing their tastes into the game as it grows.
I've got to shorten my answers these days.
No, it's good to hear, because
Who told you that?
the developers get heavily slandered and shit on weekly, right? And it's led to the point where the main community manager guy actually left and quit his job over it because he was getting death threats on a weekly basis and told all
Don't
sorts.
do that.
It wasn't me. I've never done that, but
I mean, just generally gamers don't do that.
The community on Gears is a good community, but there is an element of toxicity, and they don't want change. They do not want anything new.
I wouldn't classify as toxic.
No, the way they put it across is quite aggressive.
No. So to me, I wouldn't say classify as toxicity. I'd classify as a little bit more harsh or stupidity.
Yeah.
Don't do that. What is it going to gain? What in the hell is any of that sort of attitude going to help anyone?
He quit his job.
Exactly. What have you done? You've now put someone who was enamored with the game, probably had very much a passion, has now left that particular franchise. Well, what has that accomplished to anybody? So I wouldn't classify it as toxic. I'd classify it as stupidity. Okay. Absolutely, because no one with a brain would just go, "How can I, get what I want by making it worse for them?" Yeah. Honestly,
and it may drive him out of the industry, because why would you want to put up with that?
Exactly.
People always dream of being a community manager, but do not become a community manager on social media, because in any game, because you're a target, you are for anything, But no,
there's the problem with social media and being on there. You have to have a very thick skin, and you have to be able to put up with low rent imagination and low rent commentary from people that have, going back to what somebody just mentioned, is that people have probably had a brain bypass.
Yeah.
Well, I say stupid stuff on there a lot, so So,
no, don't get you wrong. There's stupidity, but there is a line,
Yeah, because the thing is, we're all stupid at some point or another, especially after a couple of beers. Removable sanity will tell you. But the point is, the thing is, if you've got a brain and you haven't had a brain bypass, and you've actually know that person, you've read his previous tweets, you can always find the intent behind it, you see, or you can ask someone to clarify. But there's far, far more worse people on Twitter and social media that, as I say, write stuff without thinking and with no intention to appease or be cordial, and that's the fundamental issue within society. And it's not that the fact that those people exist, because we all tolerate it, we all understand it, we can all see it for what it is. The point is that to the degree that it actually exists, that is now commonplace, that we come to appreciate how widespread it is more alarming than anything else.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy the way the world's going though regarding computer games though. As you're a child, you talk to people in the playground. It's just a laugh and a joke. Yeah. It's just like, oh, Nintendo shit, blah blah blah. Or this one's got this mode, this one hasn't. Or it's the blood with the Mortal Kombat. Just little things. But you never took it to heart. It was just a laugh and a joke.
And I never took any. Never took any offense to anyone telling me that their Savalo is bigger than mine.
That's because you see everyone saying that.
But there is a difference to it here, is that, and both of you have picked up on it perfectly, is you said it directly to someone.
Right.
They were in front of you. That you could see their emotions, you could see their face, you could see everything about them was right in front of them. Exactly. As an old saying my mum used to say, don't say stuff you wouldn't say in person.
Well, and my thing is, there's a difference between being critical of a product or of a decision than there is of saying right to the person, you need to die.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, Paul. I think just what you just said there is the intent. And okay, I asked a question about the medium. I didn't criticize it. I just asked the searching comment that was intriguing, which was important, which then, as Removable Sanity said, maybe a perfectly good explanation. But it's the intrigue and asking questions that helps us to educate and lift ourselves higher. But like you say, Paul, people that are downright rude or intolerant or just looking to cause trouble, I'm just surprised by the magnitude of those people that exist. It's quite shocking.
Well, look at
I think generally
the cyberpunk guys took a lot of crap, and it wasn't, and none of it was their fault. You know,
no. That was, I think, to be honest with you, and we've got to realise social media. We are still in its infancy.
right?
No one taught us how to act on social media, and now we're parents about to tell children how to act on social media. We're still learning ourselves. We're still trying to understand the impact it has on our daily lives, the impact it has on our mental health. You know, we were thrown in to the wild west of social media with no knowledge or fully understanding of how it's going to impact anyone. You know, some back in the day were just like, it won't take. No one's going to enjoy it. No one will like it. You know, the same way as, people who said, our tapes are going to be around forever. CDs won't be any good. You know, that's the way things are at the moment. We're being thrown in a very much a evolutionary change to us as a species.
Well, part of it is too is social media is actually about 30 years old because BBSs and such and whatever the IRCs or whatever they were back then.
But that wasn't widespread. That was the different though.
It wasn't as widespread, but it was still, it's bigger now, but it's not like it hadn't been around in some form or another.
Yeah, but I think it was much more of the people utilizing it were very much more a niche group.
Oh yeah, they were, but they were also very rude and very nasty and could do the same stuff we're seeing today.
Yes, yeah. But where today it is now, it's and as we know, the social media itself feeds off the worst attributes of humanity.
Yep. Oh yeah.
If you put in, I've been a good person, no one cares.
Yeah.
If you say something absolutely awful,
like what Tushi
engagement
did the other day,
the engagement is horrendous, and that's going to be a societal change. We as a society need to generally engage better with more positive things than negative things.
Yep.
The same thing on the news. How many times you see on your news media something really, really happy? Very rarely.
Usually at the end, and it includes a puppy. But
Yeah. The last 5 minutes, maybe. It's the car crash scenario. Everyone looks at a car crash. Very few people will look at a nice daisy or a flower.
Yeah.
Or and that's where we have to. That's the situation where we have to change. That's the situation I think we need to grow into. But that's going to take a big push from every single person.
My question to you, Removable, is that what's happened in the last 20 years or 30 or 50 years where most people that are educated in the system, right, in the Western world, let's assume there was people in the Western world, have conceded the right to think for themselves in a manner that, is commonplace, whether you go to work, go to buy a coffee, speak to your manager, your parents. I can't quite make the connection. Is that are people that unhappy or that, I don't know, frustrated, right? To the point where they can't speak another language. It is almost like another language, another species, or maybe it was always there in everybody. Once everybody's personalities and faces are stripped away, that is the bare bones of what we are as a species. It's quite shocking, quite incredible.
I think what you're saying, get me so wrong, is this the true soul of humanity when you strip it back to its bare nature? I would like to assume that's not the case. I would like to assume this is a facet of one of the worst aspects of our humanity. I would like to believe, and again, maybe this is naive of me, or maybe this is just wishful thinking, that all of us here, if we saw a child hurt, the very first instinct would be to go out and help that child.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm hoping that is the core element of humanity.
I agree with you, but nowadays, if you were to do that, you can get yourself into trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point that you make there. The problem is that we live in a world now today where thinking indifferently or speaking aloud in a public forum, and I don't mean Twitter, outside or where people can see you, is almost ridiculed and perceived as a crime in many quarters, because the state says, do this and do that, and through so many avenues itself, but it's almost like giving leeway to a new normal, and it's only at its genesis. I mean, we may as well all be in China and North Korea, where most are educated to concede the right to think for themselves in order to maintain the pittance of on offer from the government, which in turn allows you to exist, and you're bloody grateful for it. And I'm wondering, is that how you control a population that's unwieldy and that can create havoc? And that is not really sort of adhering to, well, as you said, removable sanity, to, well, not the right side, but the healthy or the loving side of how and what it should be, other than Arkwright's prices. Yeah.
I think generally there has always been a request. There's always been historically some form of control of the masses. Some way, some particular aspect to try and control the form of the masses to conform to a particular situation. Now, this could be done through ideology, religious aspects. There is always some sort of a remodification. Yes. Now, the question is whether or not that remodification is there to benefit humanity or is there to benefit certain individuals. There's, how many people have you said, I'd never like to be a politician. Ironically, the best people to be a politician are the people who don't want to be in it.
Or who don't want to control. Yeah.
Or don't want to control. Yeah. It's
typically the devilishly cunning that do get embroiled in such sort of positions of hierarchy and control, right?
Exactly. It's, as a society, I think we are evolving, we are pushing forward, we're striving forward, but we are going to have hiccups. And I suppose this is my naivety coming through. I'd like to think we are going to push through this hiccup of society. It's happened. I'd like to think we've learned from history. We've seen what has befelled other nations, other historical elements, and have learned from that. But we won't know.
I wish I knew that was as true as I wish it was. But given current events lately, I don't know that that's so much true.
I think you the way a friend of mine described it, and I think he was saying to me, he said he went out. He's a Marine, and one of the things that he said, I didn't do this for my country. I was like, oh, okay, then what did you do it for? He said, I did it for my family, because doing it for my country was too much to handle. So I self-grandialized it to a number of people that I could relate to. And I suspect that's what we have to try. And that's probably a better way of dealing with society in general. If we all stop thinking about, the worst people actually make up the majority. It's like, I think I can't remember this old saying, the sprinkling of arseholes, and everyone believes it's majority, when actually it's just a sprinkling of arseholes. The majority is actually probably pretty decent people. But the sprinkling of arseholes just are a bit more prominent than we'd like it to mean, and I'm assuming that's the best way of dealing with it is as a society, is that, we try and look at it in a more positive spin is probably better for us in general. We'd like to believe, regardless of where we are, that the majority of people would be out to help us rather than just a sprinkle of ourselves that a bit more shouty. It's probably not succinctly a way of saying it, but maybe that's how we look at it. we stop at listening to the shouty people who are out to just cause problems, out to cause, issues, out to just bring everyone down. And maybe we should start listening more to the people who just want to bring everyone up.
Yeah,
So-
don't listen to the vocal minority because they tend to,
Sorry, Mr. Stubbs, that we've turned this from Gears 5 to the indictment of a failing society.
Yeah, no, I mean,
We're all living in it.
too busy talking on Twitch. But no, it's what's it called? I was about to say it.
We'll be right back.
It went south. We were talking about Gears and the community manager being attacked and that, and now
Well, you're the one who brought up toxicity. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing up this positivity, you brought it down to toxic places.
That was a good discussion. That was. But you all got valid points, But like a while ago, there was a social experiment done in a supermarket, a busy supermarket, and the girl was safe. She was watched all the time. No one could actually get her. And they actually had her in the supermarket for quite a while, asking everyone for help. She lost her mummy and daddy. And everyone just ignored her through fear. Because at the minute, it is a weird thing. Because although if you see a child that needs that kind of help, there are certain parents out there, if they see you trying to help their kid, they think you're some kind of pervert. Even if you're only trying to help their kid, you see. And that's the way everyone thinks now. I better not say hi just in case someone's watching me and reports me. But it's mental the way the world is. But yeah,
I think you've got a point there. The world is mental, but why? And one thing I often see is that the stupider a regime gets, the smarter, the intelligent, the people become and more humorous. And you can just see it right on this podcast. It's happening.
Yeah, so I reckon we're going to end that topic now.
Oh,
It's been a good talk.
I just
It's been a good show this week. We've talked about everything, literally. Yeah, nearly.
I thought we were just getting warmed up.
No, only 2
Not
hours.
Tushy's underpants.
Only 2 hours. So, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you, Cerebral Paul?
You can find me at Twitter at Cerebral Paul. And you can find me on Twitch as Cerebral Paul 1 I always get those two confused. I'd have to go look, but
What about Grinder?
No, I use your name for that. And then of course, so you follow me there, and I stream when I feel like it. I'm trying to get on a schedule. I will be streaming the Medium when I start it up, either tonight or tomorrow when it actually drops. I think for me, it actually drops tonight at like 10 or 11. Something like
Too Busy Talking's asking, have you got a Discord link?
my Discord is a mess right now. So let me get it cleaned up, and I'll start inviting people into it.
I don't know what he means by a Discord link. I don't know.
What do you mean Discord link?
I don't know.
You don't know what a Discord link is?
Yeah, but I don't know what Discord is asking for, or she.
Oh.
Maybe it's a link to the Grinder account.
That's
Could be.
Mr. Sweet Tushy at Grindr. Oh.
Straight between the cheeks.
Yeah. Yep. So that's where you can find me. And of course, you can find me here every Wednesday night. And you can find me in the chats of many other shows throughout the week as well. So there you go.
Thanks for coming on, Paul.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Removal Sanity, where can we find yourself?
Just to cut back to what you were saying, Too Busy was saying all of yours in regards to Discord links. So any Discord links regarding from the panel, I think they were asking for. For myself, I can be found on Xbox, Twitter, Minds, and
Signal.
YouTube. No, not Signal. Not Signal. I haven't done it yet. No, I haven't yet. I can be found on those elements under the name Removal Sanity, and of course on here when I'm allowed on.
Thanks for coming on today, Removable.
FarmersOnly.com.
You can find me. You can find me on Twitter at @animated_evil. I'm also on Xbox, where I do all my gaming. animated Evil 857, and I'm lucky enough that I can join every Wednesday as long as the invitation lasts. Thank you for subs. And
That's
I will
quite
also
alright,
be
then.
on with Mr. Tushi on his community night every Saturday.
That's good to hear. That is. Where have we got across the screen now?
VJ.
No, Mr. Tushi's next. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Tushi. Where can we find you?
Yeah. On the sofa, I said that baggy fanny comment. Sorry about that. You can find me on Xbox, PlayStation, Twitch, Twitter,
Switch.
and the Switch with funny numbers. As Mr. Tushi, you can find me on the community game night on Friday and Saturday. Trying to get these words right now. Friday, we're doing Forza Horizon 7, 100 laps as a NASCAR theme on the oval track with simulation fuel and tyres, so it should be challenging.
Oh, that's going to be a long race. That's going to be
About half hour an hour, I reckon.
In reverse.
With one gear.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But I
On Saturday, go on.
sounds good, but unfortunately won't be coming.
That's fine. You're under no
Not
pressure to
waiting.
come on.
Under pressure.
He's scared of the challenge.
I am.
Yeah.
I'll come last.
Saturday, we was going to do Battlefield 1943, but I couldn't cope with that game. It was driving me insane. So it was hurting my eyes. And Al experienced the same, didn't you?
Yeah, it wasn't nice. Although I was doing all right with scoring points. I was doing all right, so maybe we should play after all.
Wasn't there an issue with the multiplayer side of it?
Yeah. The issue is we can go in a private lobby, so it's a public lobby, but you can't choose mode. You can't do anything. You just play the game what the game is. But a private lobby, you have to have 16 players. Say for example, if one drops out, we can't play until we get the 16th player. It's you have to have 16 players, which is a bit cheesy, I think. But anyway, I did do a poll between Battlefield Hardline and Battlefield 5 instead. And so far, it's 75% have voted for Battlefield 5. So it'll be a new one for the game night, but it'll be fun. I'll have to find out how big the lobbies are in that game. I'll have a look tomorrow. And after that, we're playing Wreckfest. That's it.
Oh, Wreckfest. I'll play Wreckfest.
I bet you will.
Just show up
You're
for
still,
that
you still come last.
one.
I might
Yeah.
take that honor.
Yeah, that's the one game that I'm not always last at, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, VJ, you wanted to try competitive multiplayer. Come on, Battlefield. You'd enjoy that one.
Oh, thank you for the invite.
Multiplayer. Come and join me on Gears for a one-on-one match.
Oh, I don't know about one-on-one.
I think it might be 45 kills to 50. No, I think it might be 50 kills to 10
29.
deaths for VJ.
Probably 80-0.
Thanks for coming on, VJ. Can you tell people where they can find you if you wish to tell people?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody, all the community in the chat for coming on and listening to us talk absolute nonsense for 2 hours. And I think I'm on Boom Show tomorrow, doing sort of less podcast at the moment. And yeah, thanks, Mr. Stubbs, for having me on the show again. It's really appreciated. And I'm going to do my best to join Mr. Tushi on Saturday. And yeah, give that a go.
Oh, thanks for coming on. That
See you
sounds good.
soon.
That does. Yeah. Thanks everyone for stopping by. I really appreciate the support. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe or follow on the podcast download. It's much appreciated, and I'll see you all soon. See
It's
ya.
nice.